Hello, everyone. It's Mia. I just wanted to hop on here to say thanks again for listening. I really appreciate the support on this project. It's been a really fulfilling time, again, just having these conversations, and I just wish and hope that the episodes will have an impact on you like they have had like these conversations have had an impact on me. So if you do take the time to listen, it means a lot. You know, some people are giving up a couple hours of their day to listen to these conversations, and I just hope that they bring you peace and joy like they do to me. So I just also wanted to shout out our channels where you can donate if you wanted to contribute to keeping these episodes going. I'll have the links to everything in the description of wherever you're listening. But my Venmo is at MiaMakes. My Cash App is the $ MiaMakes, as well as our Instagram. If you would like to follow our Instagram, I don't have a website specifically. I've just been using Instagram, but I'm hoping to create a web page for this soon where you can keep up if you don't use Instagram. So feel free to check that out for now to get sneak peeks on who's coming up next. I also have a Patreon where I haven't been active on it lately, to be honest, but I plan on beginning to release these earlier. So I'm actually about to make a Patreon post. I'm going to try to make it a Saturday ritual because right now it's Saturday, the day before this is going up. So again, thanks again so much, and I hope you enjoy the convo with Tiara. All right, I'll see y'all in the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Archived Conversations. My name's Mia, and this is
Tiara.
Woo! Yeah, Tiara. Thanks for being here today. I know I've probably said that 10 times already, but I'm really glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, if you want to just introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, people. What is up? Tiara, 31, Puerto Rican and Cape Verdean, queer as ever. Don't stop.
Don't stop. Keep
going. Very happy about it, especially considering it hasn't been easy to be open about it. So very much embracing it, and I will be loud and proud about it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, me too. I feel you. Especially in Florida right now. It's great that you are feeling as queer as ever, despite it all. And I feel like that just ties into the whole reason I even asked you to, be here specifically for this podcast, just because I feel like, I first met you at a market, and you were so nice, and you had baked goods and really cool earrings, and I got your gumball earrings, which, by the way, I get complimented on all the time. Ooh. I don't know if I've actually told you that.
No.
But that pair of earrings and a couple pairs that I have of another friend of mine, Made Abstract. Nina, if you know that person.
I knew it.
The gold. I always get compliments on her earrings too, so I'm always telling them oh yeah, it's this Instagram, go here. So
I love that.
Thank you. But when I was researching who I should bring on here, a lot of people who I talk to tend to lean more into not always, I don't want to say that, but I guess the past couple conversations I've had have really I see their stuff as powerful, but just in a different way. There's a lot of anger there, and I'm sure there's anger with your work too, what you are putting out there through Passion Powerhouse. But it's like the healing.
Mm-hmm.
You
The
know what I'm saying? It's
aspect,
like
the
it's
aspect.
like the anger is over here, but with that there also needs to be healing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for community, for like for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, whenever I was looking at your page when I was like doing, looking through what you've done and everything, I just feel like it's cozy, it is like soft, and it feels safe.
Yay!
And um, I really admire it a lot. And I just love what you've been putting out through that account.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really needed, like right now. It always has been, but it just feels like more than ever.
Well, yeah, given the circumstances, and especially in Florida.
Yeah. So I wanted to just ask you first where your kind of like, I don't know, creative journey began. Like, were you always the kid in class that people like are like, oh, can you draw me? Or did you start kind of with not really doing much art like in your childhood, and then later on you were getting more create, like flowing more into your creative juices? Like, take us through that.
Well, I guess not oddly enough, but I feel like looking back into childhood, the only ways that I can really tell that that creative side was there is through like media, like photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because sadly, I feel like whenever you've been through like traumatic things in childhood, like those are the things that stick. And so, but in general, I've definitely always felt like, creative, and I feel like it was only, how would you explain it? It was only like at a certain point where I got to actually, I guess, explore it more. And especially because, outside influences like family and society in general have kind of like different expectations of you regardless of like your interests and passions.
Totally.
And so like even straight out of high school, I went to HCC for a bit. And
shout out HCC.
Yeah. I was just like,
go Hawks.
I was like, well, they say you have to get these general ed classes done anyway, so like let's just get to it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I didn't last. And I didn't even really know. I felt like I realized that I wasn't even really prepared to be in that like environment. I didn't even realize about dual enrollment and all of that stuff. Never mind, just the basics. So I took a break and then ended up going back to college. And even then, I was on like the radiology track, and I was like, wait. Unless I'm like really trying to be in the medical field, I'm not putting myself through these classes.
Were you getting pressure from like family to go that route?
Yeah, because also they're like, I mean, they want the quote unquote best for you, but best in their eyes is just like, essentially to be able to sustain yourself in this this world. And so, but I feel like sometimes it's just like at the cost of the illusion of stability. So, I did that, and I did get my bachelor's, but at the time I was working at the college library, and that kind of started my journey into thinking like, ooh, I might actually want to become a librarian. Which is why I did my bachelor's, because technically, you don't need it in something specific to get your master's in library science.
That's nice to know.
But I at that point definitely wanted experience in public libraries because I knew that it would be a different experience and one that might be more fitting, like for my interests, because I've always been interested in working with people and just like being of service, as best as I can.
Yeah.
And in the public library realm, there seemed to be more opportunity for also like, creative areas rather than just, you know, the college.
Yeah.
The college sense. Anyway, I'm like, what was I going with this? You asked me about.
Oh yeah. So later on, you were becoming interested in becoming a librarian, the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked you your journey.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, it's been a journey. So as much as I do still love the library world, and all it is supposed to be. I feel like unless you are in an area that really upholds what libraries are supposed to be, it's really difficult to be in those environments. Because although, for example, the job that I left, like in the public library, I was working in the kids section, and like specifically, I worked in teen and tween programming, so like with middle and high schoolers. And I was putting programs on. I also took on
really cool.
like the writing group that the person before me had started. And it was like nice in that sense, and I love my kids, but
yeah,
there are lots of other aspects to that, and
a lot of emotional labor, I bet. Too.
Yeah. And again, those environments, unless you're in specific areas, they tend to be very like stifling. And it's like, as long as you show up, are compliant, and don't basically open your mouth, then like cool, fine, you're a great employee. But I am very much, as they say, a rebel with a cause. And so I'm like, my very valid values and beliefs aren't being like respected here, and like, so anyway, so yeah, it was one of those things where people kind of thought, it was also when I was going to be moving out on my own for the first time, and so and that's when I was going to take this like creative journey on. And so people are like, you're quitting your job and moving in by yourself, like basically all at the same time. That seems like wild. And I'm just like, I get it, but also, if we only live this life, I'm going to obviously at least try and see what comes from it, because at the end of the day, like, a job will always be there, and like school will always be there, so like it's one of those things, like if all else fails, I can get a regular job, or you know what I mean. But I owe it to myself to try to make the reality that I
So when was that?
That
was,
How long
ago was that?
I want to say it's probably been less than 2 years now or so, and that is actually brings me to like one of the points of like the reminders, because I feel like sometimes I can be hard on myself and think like, oh, in this amount of time I'm not where I maybe imagined that I would be. But if I actually take into account not only everything that like I've created that like people haven't even seen, or that like I've tried and whatever, like even aside from all of that, the work and things that like I've done and learned about myself, like, in general, is just what's the word, like, I guess worthy in itself, you know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those matters where like it really all it really is all up in timing. Like, it's so silly to set these expectations on ourselves and think that like something has to happen in this specific time period, or else basically like you failed. When it's like you're not even like aware of all of the behind the scenes, you know what I mean? Like, you're not even aware of what pieces need to come together, like within yourself and maybe within like somebody or people that you'll meet to like get to where you want to be, or like learn something, kind of like have that like aha moment.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a ride.
Yeah, so like when you did quit your job, like what did you end up like doing? When you moved in by yourself for the first time, and then what?
It was wonderful, first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you.
Definitely. There's literally nothing like just being like having your own space. Like,
it really is nothing like it. God.
What's funny is like there were very minimal times too where like I was even scared, and you know that is like it is a valid fear, especially from coming from others.
Yes.
But it's just not the way that I viewed it, and it's just, but it is a luxury in this economy, so I no longer live alone.
Oh, gotcha.
And
yeah.
That's that for now, but
yeah.
Regardless, I am lucky to at least live with somebody that I don't feel,
yeah,
that they're
like anxious about it. Yeah,
it's a comfortable environment still.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's so important. I feel it in my bones. Mm-hmm. It is so great to have your own. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you are kind of used to, if not kind of avoiding being home a lot.
Yep, same.
You're kind of just like closed off in a room.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, I could walk around naked.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, this was PG, but
no, it's great.
I'm like, I could walk around naked and just literally
be me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Good stuff. So how did Passion Powerhouse, that Instagram, how did that kind of like start?
Well,
how did you choose the name? Give me it all.
I'm trying to well, first, it's funny because I love alliterations.
Oh yeah,
I always
I love the name.
Thank you. Although afterwards, I still love the name, but afterwards, I don't know if somebody pointed it out to me or I realized it, but they were just like, that it's literally just PP, that's not the greatest
Oh, I don't care.
But I'm just like, it's the name, and
Yeah, I don't care.
I love it, but
yeah.
It was just, it kind of sprouted from the recognizing that I am multi-passionate, and I
can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I can do whatever I want, and it's just it's what I felt, I do feel like a passion powerhouse, even when I'm not feeling like it.
Yeah.
And especially in this internet world where everybody is you've got to niche down and find this and that. I'm I very much am against that. And don't get me wrong, maybe one day I will want to focus on one thing more than another or whatever, but that's also part of this is exploring, having the freedom to explore and practice, because only through that and practicing is how you recognize if something's for you or not, or if it's maybe something that you would rather kind of keep to yourself, you know what I mean, and not do for the community, or with community. So yeah, I was just I want to take all of these things that I have interest in and that I love and share it with others and see kind of what comes out of it, you know? And especially one thing that I love is seeing other people do it, and I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Because then, regardless of like again all this advice and niching down, even though all that comes up, there are plenty of other examples that you see other people doing what you are doing and like want to do, you know?
Yeah.
And they're thriving. So I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah, totally. That's great. So, like, did it originally start being kind of like, it's not like motivational content, I don't want to say that, but like, you know, it's like, again, very much focused on like healing and staying grounded, or like reminding yourself to stay grounded. Like, was that the original, that was just part of one of your interests, basically?
Well, originally, and if you like looked back on my Instagram, I feel like I tried to like make it more like not uniform, but
Following a certain format?
yeah, like following a certain format. And I did kind of like focus on certain like tangible offerings, like you mentioned, like the earrings and stuff like that. And even though there are aspects that like I, you know, like would still offer, I didn't really like, at the root of it is still like very much personal and collective dealings. And so and like I am trying to like build community, and so I wanted to make sure that I kind of kept the heart of the matter like at the forefront. So it's like even though I am in the process of having more like actual tangible offerings available and accessible on my platforms, I don't want it to all just be like, you know, here's what you can buy, because that's not like the sole purpose of Passion Powerhouse. So yeah.
Aww, I love it so much. Yeah, just again, like, a lot of Instagram in particular, I feel like, just feels like a trap. Like, in a lot of different ways. And I hate how much, like, especially, like, a couple years ago when I was doing art primarily for work, it just, like, takes up so much brain space sometimes, and it's kind of just frustrating. It can be frustrating, because especially when I first had Instagram, back in the first Instagram I opened was in 2012, and that app was so different than what Instagram is today, even. And I feel like when I was posting back then, I wasn't thinking about, like, again, engagement, you know, like, how many likes is this getting? How many followers am I gaining after I post this, and this? And even just, like, doom scrolling is another example of it just taking up so much brain space. And, like, these are all things that I've definitely, like, become more aware of in the last year, and have tried to, like, tailor my experiences more. So, like, choosing people, like, as favorites, you know, and then you can go and see those particular people on your feed. Like, just filter it to those people. Or, you know, just having an Instagram, like a private Instagram just for friends is helpful too, so that you just see your friends' stuff. You don't see, like, businesses or anything, which it's not bad, you know, but it can just be, if you're not careful, it can just feel so much like a trap. So that I just really appreciate like the energy that you are bringing to your platforms, because I just feel like it's just refreshing.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, because again, it just feels like, I don't know, it can get really redundant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really love old internet. I feel like I always talk about this, but it's just like now internet is like homogenous and boring.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost like that, where it's like sometimes Instagram can just feel like a certain thing because it's like tailoring it to you.
Yeah, and especially like when every app tries to be like the other app, like the most popular, and so it keeps switching, and it's just like, how about you leave it with like what it was supposed to be, you know what I mean? Like, clearly there's another app for that, you know, like purpose. And
well, now X or whatever is gonna
Lord.
be the everything app or whatever the fuck.
Please. It's just, oh god, it's just another example of the wealthy and just
I know
having the world as their literal playground. Like,
they can just do whatever
they want, But
yeah,
I mean, I appreciate like that feedback, because that's, you know, what I want people to like feel, and when you, and in terms of like getting caught up, especially like with others, like other creators and stuff, it's easier to feel types of ways too whenever like you end up kind of comparing yourself, which is again like everybody has their own journey. So it's just like one of those reminders that sometimes you need more than you think. But yeah, it really is like affirming, like honestly, even whenever I because, you know, again, when you kind of like slip into those like comparison mindsets, you can kind of like feel types of ways about even like what you're creating, even though it's like, I actually was just talking about it with my friend, and I was like, it's also there are things that like I would, for example, like put up on my walls, or like that I would want. So like why would I even feel some type of way about somebody's like, let's say, realistic type art whenever like, because that's like not me, like that's not my style. Like I could never do, well, let me not say never, but like I would have to practice a whole lot. But again, that's not something that like I'm interested in. Like it's just not my thing. But yeah, so it's just like silly to even feel some type of way whenever it's like, that's,
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's almost like the fine art
kind of
thing. Yeah, I was just talking about this the other day too. Like, I never felt like I had a spot in like the art world or whatever. Like, I never felt like I fit into anything. And like, even when I started identifying as like an illustrator, like I just feel like that's still not even correct. But I just feel like there is that pressure to kind of put yourself in a box and be like a thing, which is crazy. Like a commodity, you know. Yeah, I really feel you though. It's like I definitely have compared myself to like other artists who are out there, because it's like, oh, like I could be doing this, or if I would have taken this opportunity that was presented to me, like where would that have led me, and like was that a mistake, or you know, or I see other people doing like what I wish I could do, but like I've tried doing that thing and I couldn't do it. And I'm just like, I'm tired. How do y'all have so much energy?
I mean, sometimes it's like, it depends on the time too. Like, maybe it's just like, okay, if it's something that you really want to do, like the time will come where you're gonna like pick it back up, you know? Because I'm really like in the belief that if something, like if you are desiring something and like you are holding firm to that even if it comes however many years later, like it's gonna come, as long as you're like keeping that there, you know what I mean, and actually like putting some
Fostering
kind of effort
it.
yeah, if it's, as long as you're putting some kind of effort into it, like, and again, even just like keeping that thought there, you know what I mean, like, then it's for you. So
I hear that. It can be so easy to not think that way. Why do we just go to the negative? Why do our brains do that?
I'm telling you, it's a literal rewiring.
So actually
it's a rewiring.
You said you love reminders.
I do.
You did say you love reminders in that reel, one of the reels on your Instagram, so please tell us about that.
Well, I basically was talking about this this rewiring in like our mindsets and just like patterns that we kind of like continue to like perpetuate in that space. Which is not surprising because I mean, if it's what you have been consuming, especially from those closest to you, or like from the doom scrolling or like society itself, then like what do you think is gonna, you know, so unless you're like actively going against that, you're just it's a cycle. And like it can't be vicious because I mean, I am an overthinker too, so sometimes you really gotta be like, enough.
Stop.
Like, enough is enough. And it really helps, like, when you do have those thoughts come up, kind of to kind of like trace it back. So it's just like, whose voice is this really? Like, because
it's
clearly
not mine.
It's not mine.
I wouldn't talk like this to anyone.
Yeah. And people say that it also is helpful to like name that that voice, or like voices, depending on like what's going on. And I was actually just talking about it last night with my roomie ex. Because we were kind of having like a check-in. I was like, we haven't really had a check-in in a while, you know, like, how are you feeling, and like whatever. And she was kind of just talking about, well, I mean, I had to pull it out of her, but she was kind of just talking about things that will like pop in her head whenever she's not in the kind of survival mindset. Things will pop in her head where it's kind of like cyclical, and she's like thinking that she's not like good enough, and you know, like all these things, and then opened up about certain where it kind of was like stemming from in the past. And it's like you can kind of have a general knowing of, okay, this is false. But it's really really like kind of drowning out that voice and like reminding yourself. So I was kind of like, where, like, what is the reasoning, you know what I mean, and like what evidence can you find to like go against that, you know what I mean, because
the evidence,
regardless, like, you are worthy, and even at your lowest of lows, because life be lifing. And if we were like, if we were unworthy at our lowest points, like, just because we were at our lowest points, then we would never be worthy, because what? Like, it's not realistic to be,
we're
like,
human.
We are not robots. I mean, no, robots can probably be type lazy, but
probably.
But yeah, so it's important. And honestly, like, the more you see it, the better. So I've like written on my like mirror, I put like sticky notes up. You could literally speak into your water that you're drinking, like loving things that you're consuming,
affirmations.
Yes. Like, there's just so many little things that aren't so little. And it is the little things that end up kind of like creating the bigger things.
Big thing, yeah.
So that's also why I say that there really is no like destination. Like the journey is the destination, you know, like the process, the practice, like in everything that you learn through that. So
yeah, that's a really good point. I recently kind of read about how people like will do that exercise of like, okay, I'm thinking this bad thing about myself, what's the evidence? And like literally thinking about it and being like, this one time, it's like, okay, you've been alive for how many days? And this one time, and now that defines you entirely? How does that work? Have you heard that I don't know if it's like originally like a spoken word thing or a poem, but the way that I heard it, it was over like a like music, and it's called 998 Good Bricks. Have you heard it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
What does it kind of like go like? Like what does it sound
It's
like?
basically like, I think it was like he's building the wall. He's like, I spent all this time building this wall, making sure everything was straight, like brick by brick, like perfection every time. And then when I finally got done with all my 1,000 bricks, I took a step back and I couldn't believe it. There were 2 bricks that were like crooked. And all he could see was those 2 bad bricks.
So
and it was like, it goes through this thing of like a guy coming up to him being like, oh, that's a great wall or whatever. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, look at these bricks. Look at these 2 bricks. And he's like, oh, I didn't even notice because there's these like 998 good bricks. And so yeah, I listen to that when I'm sad sometimes.
Sounds like a good thing to listen to.
I definitely remember like a few years ago playing it and crying. Because there was just so much going on. It felt like it was just a bunch of bad things happening. But that's just what happened. It feels that way when you pay attention to the news. Like mainstream news.
Yeah. Which is why, like, we shouldn't, like, it's important to, like, you know what's going on.
Stay aware.
But, yeah, we need to, it's not, like...
We aren't meant to consume.
We are not.
Like that.
Not at all. Like, we used to freaking send letters and, some shit by carriage. And, like, you know what I mean?
You didn't get that instant.
Now we have, literally. And again, like... with everything, there's pros and cons. Like, there are lots of things that we would not know that are going on, especially like halfway across the world. But
I mean, it makes sense why we are looking at those things and like really like, I don't know, like yearning for that, like this, like just slower paced life. Because it is a lot to process out here. There's so much happening in the world all the time, and it can just be super overwhelming. So it's like really important to have those reminders of like, you're here right now. Like, you can only do what you can do and create what you can, and then create what you can create. And you're still worthy, you know, of love and light and everything.
Well, and like whenever I feel like it gets to a point where if you're consuming it so much and it feels like that much, and you feel like you feel essentially like powerless because like you're just like, what the hell can I do in this situation?
Right.
You kind of have this like all or nothing mindset.
Yep.
And that's why it's important to basically, like, again, focus on what is in your control, what is in your possible, and exactly look into your community and see how you can be of impact there. Because, like, otherwise, again, you're just like with this, like, you're stuck with this, like, black and white thinking, and then
nothing is ever that easy
happening. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. I feel like I tend to shut down, or at least I used to.
mm-hmm.
I'm working on it, but it's like I definitely tended to, like, shut down when I felt like overwhelmed, because it just felt like thing after thing after thing. You could just go on and on about all the awful, but then it's like, what about all the good stuff that's going on in the world, you know?
Exactly, which is why you need that.
It's not always that easy. Like, I understand it's not always that easy. There are, like, literal atrocities happening in the world, but it's like, at the same time, we need to be gentle with ourselves, because, like, are we committing the atrocities?
No. And, like, if we all thought that way, and we're kind of just like, well, nothing, what's the point? Like, I'm not, what I have to contribute is, like, not enough. But if everybody thought that way, then, like, none of these good things will be happening. You know what I mean? Like, none of this mutual aid would be going on. And especially, like, that doesn't only just happen in your local communities, but that happens, like, online. So again, like, where the pros and cons come in, because, like, being able to have that space to, you know what I mean, and that, like, reach to be able to get, like, your needs met virtually is, you know, not a thing of the past.
Totally.
So,
man, this has been great.
I'm like, don't get me started.
I want to get you started. So, like, what are your hobbies? What other things do you like to do?
Oh gosh, you know
that's just a question that I want to ask.
You know that? Have you heard that sound?
Oh my gosh! What?
That sound where it's just like, I think they called it, like, the multi-passionate zoomies or something, and it's just like, I have this and I want to do this, but I just started doing this and I whatever. That's literally, like, my mind, and also why I have, like, a freaking, like, craft shelf with, like, a bunch of stuff on it.
A million things. Me too. The same way.
But it's so hard not to, and, like,
I once read this advice from some guy that was like, oh yeah, if you want to be a successful artist, you have to, like, hone in on one thing and do that one thing so good. And he just did paintings of, like, white poodles in different situations. And I was just like,
that was his niche. Come on.
Literally. And I was just like, this is boring. And I'm, like, looking at his clients. Don't even. I'm like, I don't want to talk to these people. I'm looking at your clients. I do not want to speak to them. Like, get your money, I guess.
Hey, I mean, yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I wish I were more driven by money.
Yeah, and that's, like,
but I'm absolutely not.
Where, like, I have these little, like, I have these apps and stuff that, you know, you put your birth chart information to, and they, like, send you these little reminders and stuff.
Is it CoStar?
No. Like,
okay,
the
good.
pattern and, like, the chaining app and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, because, again, we live in this freaking capitalistic hellhole, and, I mean, we do need money to live.
Yeah.
And so you do find yourself, like, even if it's just, like, in the meantime, but, like, you do find yourself, like, resorting back to that and, like, centering money. But then literally, like, I'll get a notification and it's just like, you know that you're meant to find something that, like, you know, it's fulfilling, like, all this crap, and, like, you know, that the money's not gonna, and I'm like, I know!
No, leave me alone.
Oh, God, so it's just like, okay, Tiara, okay, I know, thanks for reminding me. But, like, when you talk about the clients and stuff, it also just reminds me of, again, like, sometimes when you might be, like, comparing yourself or, like, looking at somebody else's work and, like, trajectory and stuff, I think about that, or even when, like, you're thinking about engagement or, like, metrics and stuff, I think about that and how I am trying to attract certain kinds of people.
Yeah.
So, like, why am I caring about these kinds of people that you're attracting with, like, your
I don't want them.
specific niche, because I'm just like,
y'all stay over there.
what is, like, probably nothing I want to know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And yeah.
No hate.
No hate, but same thing with like how you also get into these feelings of like, you know, ideally you want everybody to like you, but that's not realistic.
Just not
you
possible.
don't like everybody, like, so why would you want everybody to like you?
It's like
you
unrealistic.
Know what I mean? It's unrealistic, and
might as well just do what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
so, you know, it'll be what it'll be.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of have to put yourself out there, and
that's what you said this was. You were putting yourself out there with this interview.
Well, especially in that sense, because
but you're doing great.
You have to keep going out of them comfort zones.
Yeah.
Even in college, like, I was in the philosophy club, and the professor had asked me to be like the VP randomly, and I'm just like, and so I had to like,
that happened to me too.
I had to get up on stage and like at some point and do this, you know, read this thing, and you know the light is just shining on you, and I'm over here just like.
Was this at HCC?
No, this is when I was at Polk State.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say that's so funny because I had the same experience like in my community college. I was in like a creative writing club, and like there was barely anyone in the club. So the lady was like, "Well, we don't have a president anymore, so we have two here. So one of you's president, one of you's vice president." And I think the other person was my boyfriend at the time.
That's so
I was
funny.
like, okay, guess. Okay. And I had to do the same thing. I had to like host an open mic night, so I had to like get on a stage, and it's so funny. And I was mortified. I was like, knee shaking.
But you really just have to like a lot of the time too, like you had said, once you get started, it's
fine.
easier to just like keep flowing through it, because like those nerves and whatever kind of like get tossed aside. And again, only through practice are we gonna be like more, you know, maybe some people will never be comfortable, but definitely more comfortable than they were before they like started trying things. Because I actually read this like poem recently-ish, like probably a couple months ago or something, at this open mic night at a local coffee shop, and I hadn't really ever done that. Like
You read it?
Yeah, like I wrote this poem and I read it. And it was so
what was the name of it?
What?
The poem?
Not me not being able to think of the poem name.
Oh, it's okay. I just want to put it in.
Oh, I'll
send it to me.
I'll send it to you because I'm blanking now. But
it's okay, no problem.
But I read it, and leading up to it, like I was sitting there because a bunch of people went before me, and I was so nervous. And because also I feel like I didn't expect that kind of turnout for like a small coffee shop, but it was
people love it. People love an open mic.
And I was like up there. I felt like my voice was like shaking.
Me too.
My hands were shaking, and I actually like printed out and doodled on like my poem, so I wasn't just like holding my phone. And so I was like, I felt like I was just again like shaking up there, like reading it.
I've been there too.
But I did it, and then you know, somebody recorded me, and I watched it after, and it was funny because I was like, honestly, it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah,
like, I feel like
it usually never is.
Voice.
Yeah, exactly,
like,
exactly.
But it felt like a whole other world. And then, actually, it actually reminds me of what we were talking about earlier, in terms of, you know, like needing all of the elements here, like in all of the feelings, because like we're angry, or we're sad, or we're disappointed, and we're feeling like all these things, but like we need something to counter that, and like we
need the healing.
We need the healing. And so what was funny is that at that open mic night, I want to say that like there was probably only one other person that read something that was like mildly not like serious
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
heavy. Like,
Yes.
don't get me wrong, it was so good, and some of them like really were like so captivating, and I definitely shed some tears. But again, it was all so heavy, and so
totally.
like afterwards, the girl that like put the open mic night together, she was like, basically like, you know, thanks for bringing the basically the posy vibes and like inspirational stuff, because you know, again,
we need that.
And so again, that like was just affirming to me, because
yeah,
I was like, I just felt good about like having that contribution, like, you know, in that moment. But I also realized that because somebody had read a piece of theirs that had to do with like their father and just like parental things and whatever that I like related to, and how they kind of have just worked through a lot of their issues and feelings, like with writing and you know, like stuff like that. And that actually inspired me, because as much as I like journal or like can sometimes like talk about certain things, I feel like in that sense and like creatively and stuff, I haven't really delved into that aspect. And so I am, you know, looking forward to essentially healing in those ways too, and like seeing what comes up once I actually allow myself to kind of like delve into all of that.
Oh man.
Because I'm like, oh,
I don't wanna.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But
it's hard.
Yeah. But I was like, thank you.
Because
you opened me up to, you know, to that part that I need to explore more. And deal with in that sense.
Sure.
Especially like because I've also talked about things that are necessary in my eyes to like divulge and to like share, because you know, like our personal experiences do end up like helping others, whether it's like because they're feeling like heard or seen or like affirmed or even inspired, like whatever it might be. It's important, and I feel like there's a lot that I haven't shared in kind of like fear of judgments, I guess, especially, you know, when it deals with people close to you and like your family and stuff, and especially when they are the types that are just like, I don't like my stuff on the internet, like, you know, I don't have a Facebook because of this, or just like, you know, like my stuff is private, like, you know what I mean, like all these things are private, but it's just like, okay, but you played a role in my experiences, and like they are my experiences that deserve to like be heard and like shared. So I'm still kind of like working through that, but definitely on the way to like opening up more and kind of just seeing how that pans out.
People love when people are vulnerable. People love that.
Oh yeah, and it's actually what I had said, like close around, I feel like the time that I quit, that I had said that I was working on, because that is something that has been harder for me, you know, to be more vulnerable, and especially like with people that aren't like close to me. You know what I mean? Like, so
it's kind of, it feels good to let it all out in front of a room full of strangers, though, I will say. It's scary, but people love it.
Yeah, I also like posted a TikTok about it on like my personal one recently, where I was kind of talking about because I was actually in my feelings.
Oh,
like
yeah.
emotional, so I was literally crying.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's funny because I've also seen those videos, and like some people will think it's so silly, or like again they'll be judgmental because they're like, why are you posting yourself crying, or like, why are you posting yourself
Not
in
being
this
fake.
situation? Yeah, but it's just like, because again it is like freeing, especially when it's when again
'Cause I can post
you've been judged, and like
Yeah.
like I don't know, they want to like demonize it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of just talking about how one of the things I've embraced too is like sensitivity as a strength, you know, like, and,
Yeah,
like,
totally.
softness as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am emotional and I am sensitive, and like
Yeah,
people will
me
have
too.
you out here thinking that that's like bad, or like because
Bad.
you are, that like there must be no room for like these other qualities or like feelings and stuff, like, and it's that's just so unrealistic, like. And
Again,
so,
the black and white thinking almost.
yeah, I'll be in, like, there'll be a conversation being had that, you know, is one that can be emotional, but as soon as you start to actually like show those emotions, then they're kind of like,
You can make people uncomfortable sometimes.
they're kind of like, oh, you're not being logical here because you're being emotional. And it's like,
Yeah, no shit.
yes, and like these two things can
Exist
like,
at the same time.
At the same time. And it's like, and it's just so wild to think about,
Mind-boggling.
like, that. What's your thought process there? Like, especially when again we're talking about matters that like naturally could cause an emotional response, like,
Yeah.
what?
Hello?
And honestly, like, it's how my body has always like responded, like,
Yeah.
even when I'm angry the tears flow, like,
Mhm.
that is literally how my body responds. And I also learned that it's a way of like, it's a way of like your body regulating itself.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
It's releasing that energy.
So I'm like, even whenever I have no maybe like idea of why I'm crying, I'm just like, well, obviously I need to. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, we shouldn't even always be trying to think about our emotions in a logical sense. Like,
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people have actually come into like somatic therapy and stuff, because like talk therapy is not
Always.
enough, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, or at a certain point, you know, it's like, okay, now you have to really get to the where it's all stored.
Yeah.
And how you can release it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you think about it, it does feel good. Usually, like, I remember, and I did it more because, again, you get out of the house, but I remember, like, going on drives. Man, I'm thinking, like, gas is so expensive, you can't even go on drives. Or just
Right.
go on drives.
Right.
But I would go on drives, and especially when you can just, like, have the windows down and listen to music.
Yep.
And literally just, like, cry, like,
yep.
and sometimes just, like, scream cry.
Yep.
Like, to music.
Yep.
And afterwards, you're just like, wow, that felt really good.
Really cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
Or sometimes I'll put on a song and I'm like, I'm really into it, and then all of a sudden I start crying, and I'm like,
Yep.
what the hell? Like, where did that come from? Like, I'm bopping, but like, I didn't think it was like
that deep.
my feelings type of bopping. But okay, I guess. I'm like,
yeah, just let it go. And yeah, I feel like I have a really hard time hiding my emotions. So most of the time I just don't even try. So like, that has been a struggle for me, I feel like, throughout life. Because like, I'm not supposed to cry at work. Like, I'm not supposed to like be depressed if I have a customer service job or something.
oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. But I was like, wait, why?
Oh yeah, now I can cry at work, but like, I just remember like feeling that pressure of like, I need to be happy and serve this person, but I'm so sad.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that was such a struggle for me for so long. Love having a desk job now. I can just cry at my desk if I need to.
You're like,
I don't have to go to the bathroom.
tissue right here.
But yeah, I feel like I've always just like been an emotional person and like have always showed my emotions because I'm just like, this is how I'm feeling, so I don't know what to tell you.
And why like suppress it?
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel healthy to do that.
Not at all.
But so many people do. Like even nonchalantly, like I'll have conversations with coworkers even, and they are so like, I don't want to say emotionally suppressed, but it seems that way. Where it's just like, it's okay to not be working all the time. You know, like I feel like so many of my coworkers delve so deeply into their work, and I know it's because they're passionate, but I'm just like, they let it get to an unhealthy balance where it's like they don't even recognize certain emotions anymore. It almost seems like it's like crazy because I'm like, I could never. Well, I mean, maybe if it was something I was passionate about, I guess that's the difference. It's like, I'm okay with my job. Like, I'm neutral about it pretty much. Like, I like it enough. It's the first job I haven't wanted to quit.
Yeah.
You know, I like my coworkers and everything. But I'm just like, I'm here. I'm going to work my 8 hours. And then I'm going to go home. And then I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, like leave work at work.
Yeah, exactly. Interview cool people. Like, draw. And, like, literally go on a walk, literally anything, and, like, not think about it. It's like, I'd rather just be comfortable and have time to, like, be myself.
And decompress.
Yeah. And I also love that, like, my job title is so boring, so it's, like, nobody ever, like, we never talk, it's, like, because you know how when people, you, like, meet someone for the first time, they're like, oh, what do you do? And it's just like...
Live.
Yeah, like, exactly. So, but I know what they mean,
yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'm just a receptionist. And then it doesn't really get much further than that. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I really don't want to talk about work. Let's talk about literally anything else. Like, this is the least interesting thing about me. I have to be there 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. That's about it. And even then, I'm pretty much just myself at work. And it's fine. They like me enough.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't feel like I need to like have a different identity to be at work, you know, like I used to.
Well, and that's good.
Yeah.
Like, that's why if you can have that, like,
I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
I know that's not the norm. So, but I really feel for people because again, I really do feel the same. Like, I am a sensitive person, very emotional, and I'm not really afraid to hide what I'm feeling. So when I talk to people sometimes, I'm just like, how? Sometimes I'm like, I wish I could hide my emotions. But also, like...
But I think
it's
like, I think it's, especially now, like, just so much better and, like, powerful to not, because, again, that's, like, the norm.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, it's what is just, it's what we're used to. Like, I mean, even think about it when you are in public and it's just like, it's so like almost like automated where there's like, hey, how are you doing? Good, I'm fine, or whatever. You're not even good, you're not fine, but like,
no,
it's
exactly.
Just like, because if somebody actually were to answer honestly, then okay, what would you say? If somebody's like, hey, how are you? Really, I'm doing very poorly. Like, what would you say after? Right. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought like, oh, what happened?
But not everybody is like, everybody's
no,
honestly
people would
like
be
expecting like the I'm good or I'm
yep,
fine,
I know. Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like being honest about that too makes room for like people to also
feel that way and be that way.
Yeah, like how they're feeling.
I totally remember telling someone, also was a coworker, she was going through a lot and like updating me on everything that was happening with like family and stuff, and I was like, it's okay to like not be okay, is like what I said. And she like started crying and she was like, you know that, but like until somebody else says it to you. And I was just like, damn, I didn't know I was gonna make you cry.
And isn't that so
I
wild?
felt I think I felt kind of like bad about it because it's like I really didn't mean to make her cry or feel, and I think she felt uncomfortable because she started crying in front of me. And I'm like, I didn't mean to do that, but also you needed to get it out.
Yeah.
Like, you just needed to get it out, and that's fine. You can cry.
Yeah. And I feel like if she was uncomfortable.
It didn't make me uncomfortable, but I get the impression that she was uncomfortable. She was like, okay, you gotta go away. I'm crying. Go. And I was just like, ah.
Well, yeah, because if like, you know, they're feeling that way and you don't respond in a way, like, because you say you weren't uncomfortable, then again, that's just like more room to be able to like let it out and not feel like a type of way. Because I mean, as much as I embrace certain things, like, I still am just like, don't look at me.
I know. Yeah, me too, definitely. I feel like I've told Jackson, like, don't look at me, I'm crying.
Especially when I can't even talk at that point. I've like cried. Sometimes my friends will like just make fun of me, and not literally, but like they'll just like laugh, like, and be like, that's so you, because I will go somewhere and be literally like surrounded by strangers, and we're like having this like essentially like intimate conversation, you know, like people are sharing things, and then it gets to my turn, and again, I don't even expect it necessarily, but I start sharing, and then I start crying, and then I'm like, I can't even like get past
a certain point
to finish what I'm saying, so I'm just like, never mind. Meanwhile, like, everybody's
give me
like,
a minute,
looking at you, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. I don't.
Yeah, it happens.
But, yeah, we just gotta keep doing it.
Yeah. Yep. Aw. I love that.
But that is what sucks about like a stereotypical job in terms of like that offers no flexibility, where like you are front facing all the time, because I also experienced that like in the library. Like like I said, I love working with people, and I love like being of service, especially when you work with a lot of people that like don't. You know, even when you're in an environment that like you should be, because it's literally a library. But anyway, I like, it just sucks because as much as I love it, again, we're human, and like sometimes you're going through shit, and so it's like I can't be on, like they say, like all the time. And I remember like this one day, like I was going through it, and I was literally like in the boss's office, like crying. Yeah. Like, because I just at this point needed to go home. Yeah. And it's like she was sitting there trying to convince me to stay, and I'm like, what the hell? Do you want me to? Because this is what it's gonna be like. Like, do you want me to like work with people like this and like face the public, like literally crying? Falling because apart. I'm telling you right now that I can't. You know, so. It's just unrealistic. Like.
Yeah, it really is. It shouldn't have to be that way.
Mental health time.
Yep. I literally, tomorrow I'm taking a mental health day myself. I'm okay, but I do just need a day. Well, that's the thing though, and especially like with that, how everything is set up, like even like the medical industry, it's set up for like, it's not set up for prevention. No, it's not at all. Like, so you don't have to be at the point of burnout or at the point of depression or at the point of whatever to have a damn mental health day. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like a self-preservation thing. I'm like, I'm getting to a point. Like, I'm climbing towards that point. You know, I'm like, let me catch up on what I need to catch up on, you know, just for my own. And also just like so many little things kept happening all throughout the week. And, like, I've just been super tired all week because I got back from a trip. So it's, like, very grateful for that trip. But I just haven't been able to, like...
rest.
Yeah. So I've just felt like I've been dragging along all week, pretty much. So my boss... And, like, again, my boss was super understanding about it. Like, I was like, can I just take... She's told me before, like, you can take... you know, mental health days, use your sick time, and I'm just like, thank you. So, like, I asked her today, I'm like, can I please take tomorrow as a mental health day, as long as it doesn't, like, affect anything, like, too bad, and she's like, yes, take all the time you need, and I'm just like, thank you.
That's the kind of response you should get.
Absolutely, yeah, like, and I feel super grateful that I have found a job that is accommodating in that way and like understanding, because I also answer phones, and she's like, if anybody's like super rude to you and you feel upset and like you just need a little bit, just turn off the phone. Like, you can just turn off the phone for a while. And I was like, thank you.
That's super nice.
And I do it sometimes, but I haven't ever had a job that was like that, you know, and most people don't. Yeah. So.
And I mean, we would all have much better experiences if people were more accommodating
and understanding. But it's also profit driven too, where it's like have the least amount of workers, you know.
Well, and like how you were saying how people, like the way that people like kind of drown themselves in their work, like aside from like actually being passionate, like people really just obviously absorb this model of like productivity being the prime here, you know, like what you should be striving for. So
like I was just listening, unfortunately, to like some PragerU video, because they recently, I don't know if you are familiar, you're not familiar with PragerU, right?
I feel like I've heard of it, but not
it's
like that familiar.
It's like not a real university. It's just like some conservative old guy whose last name is Prager started this YouTube channel called PragerU, and it has like history lessons on it for like kids, but it's a lot of it is just not good or factual, and they basically approved the state of Florida to, like, teachers can use PragerU videos as like learning material now.
Great.
Right. So I was listening to one today because I watch commentary videos. Yeah. Like there's this particular YouTuber that me and Jackson watch. Because he kind of approaches it with like humor. He has like a sound box where he'll like repeat things. Yeah. And so he has like sound bites that he's like saved and stuff. But it's funny. Anyway. It was like a lady on this PragerU video who was like talking, it's a kid's video, and basically talking about how like America is such a great place to live, like, because they were talking about the American independence, like the history lesson on America's independence, and how like we fought for our independence from Britain and blah blah blah, and how it's so amazing that we get to live in a country where we can basically work as hard as we want to succeed. And that just rubbed me such the wrong way, because it's just a lie. It's just a lie. Because like all I can think of is my parents, because they're two of like the most hardworking people I've ever met, and like even they're like they live paycheck to paycheck, you know, because they're in like low skill like jobs, which isn't even true for my mom. She's a whole ass manager, and she doesn't make enough money. Like this is in Brevard County, which is like the worst county apparently in Florida for like public school and like wages and stuff. So like my mom works for them, and like my dad works in a restaurant, like in a kitchen. So, but it's like those jobs are a lot fucking harder than my job. And I make more money.
Quote unquote low skill.
Right. Yeah. And it's just such a lie. And it's like they're telling kids like it's so great because you can work super hard and become successful. And it's like I feel like the people out at the top are working the least hard.
Oh, it's like that. Yeah, it's like that bootstrap mentality.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
It's not real.
It's just so evil. It's so evil. In my opinion, because it's just like they're just like they always like PragerU videos and stuff always talk about like how the leftists have taken over like the schools, and how they're like indoctrinating the youth and politicizing everything, and then the video like that.
Well, no, it's just because it's like the information that they don't want them
right
to know. So and literally like
I'm
that's
just
silly.
like what the fuck
everything is political. Like
everything. Thank you.
Is political.
Thank you. When anybody ever says like, "Oh, stop politicizing the issue," I can't, because literally what you just said, everything is political, whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
At the end of the day, you're a statistic in a study somewhere.
Or like, I'm not into politics, and I'm just like,
that's
everything
lucky.
about your existence is political. Like, if you're not into politics, it's by choice, in terms of like, you're just taking it as media, you're not consuming it or whatever, but like, your life is run by them.
Exactly.
So clearly you're probably just not being directly affected by certain politics to not,
like notice it. Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Going from a privilege standpoint then.
I guess, yeah. So I just my mind is boggled every single time.
Yeah, especially because, I feel like schooling was already lacking in the knowledge department.
And it's getting worse.
And yeah, now it's really just like,
do whatever you want.
Like, it's terrible. And that just is...
It infuriates me, because it's like...
scary.
Yeah, kids deserve so much better, man. They just deserve so much better than what they're being given right now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in America, where it's like, I was even talking to this student who like works at my job too, and he's like an international student, and he's like, he's been here I think for a year, and he's like, it's crazy because like, y'all are a developed country.
Yeah, right, quote unquote.
And I'm like, yeah, ain't that crazy? Like, yeah, it's just like these 10 people up here have all the money, you know?
Which is why, like, people that, you grow up and especially come in certain situations, or, like, obviously knowing that America is not this picture that has been painted to you
your whole life.
Or you come from elsewhere and realize, again, that the American quote-unquote dream is not actually a dream. And that's why there's actually been, like, also an influx of, people going elsewhere, and then just being like, because again too, since America, we're the land of the free and we think that we're the best and everybody else is terrible, or like, whatever, because everybody's like sold that idea, they go elsewhere and they're just like, wow,
crazy,
this is not what we've been told, or like, look at what's possible, and not like negating that shit doesn't go down everywhere.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
like,
yeah,
we
like every place
pretty,
has its problems.
We're pretty,
But it's just the fact that we're constantly like, we're the best country.
Yeah, and we get in everybody else's fucking business.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think about that all the time. I'm like, if any country had a military base on our land, quote unquote, nuked immediately. But we have multiple in multiple countries.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I think about that all the time, and that's crazy too. So I just spilled a bunch of water and had to clean it up real quick. But you mentioned that it was like...
Yeah, I was
like what? What was it?
It reminds me of that meme of the dog that's just like sitting amongst all the fire around him, and it's just like, this is
fine with his little top hat.
Yeah, like, we're good. We're just
unbothered. Honestly, me.
Nonchalant. That's how they want us to be. They're just like...
We need to like edit that meme to be like, this isn't fine. Maybe somebody's already done
Probably.
it. Yeah, and then do some, like a third panel. I don't know what it would, maybe it'd just be like him putting out the fire. This has probably been done.
We could see though.
Yeah, we could see. If not, we'll do it.
And it's just like, the water is like, healing or something.
Yeah. Aww. You should.
I was gonna say that'll be like a meme.
You should do it. Yeah.
I'll make like multiple ones, like, and have the water be like different things. Like,
that's really good. Yeah, you should just become a meme account.
Oh my god. No, but
passionate memes.
I mean, I mean.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is like it's. I mean, I have started like posting not like I guess necessarily memes, but like bite-sized commentary or like affirmations or something on photos that I take because again, it's one of those things that's like I enjoy that kind of content. Like it's been useful. Like
inspiring.
Like that account like Hope Healing Hearts or like Nimity Online, I think. Like there's a bunch of those kinds, and I'm like, I enjoy this. Like it's kind of stuff that I would repost.
Yeah.
Like
let me do it.
Yeah, like if it's fitting.
Yeah.
Then why shouldn't I participate?
Yeah, I agree.
So just exploring.
Yeah, that's great. So I also wanted to like ask too, like, are there any people who like in particular inspire you? Or I know you just mentioned a couple of accounts. I don't know if you would cite those as inspiration or not, but
I mean, yeah, it definitely could like fit that category. I feel like off the top of my head, I can think of certain accounts, but in general, I feel like so many different people and places that I've encountered like throughout my life have been inspiring,
Yeah.
And I kind of like mentioned that in my thing on my site where I say that I wouldn't be like the person that I am continually evolving into without the myriad of like hands, hearts, and eyes and all of that good stuff that have touched me in one way or another. So yeah, I mean, even literally that peacock that I saw when coming down your road, you don't even understand, that's regular to you, but I don't see it that much. And I having like that be like a special connection was kind of just like so inspiring and like again affirming because that's something that I like had looked into, like was the peacock and like all that it stood for, and it's kind of been one of my reminders where it's just like it's just like embrace all those colors and like that confidence, and they're also used in places as like imagery for essentially like freedom, you know what I mean, like songs of freedom and stuff. And when you just look into all of that and then you see something like it, you're just like, what are the odds?
That's
like
so cool.
That makes me happy.
But yeah, there's so much, you just gotta pay attention.
Yeah, truly. It blew my mind. A couple months ago, I like went outside and was just like looking at the plants. I'm like, I'm just gonna go find bugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw so many bugs that I'd never like seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like astounded. I'm like, I never would have, off this one bush, I never would have like known about these bugs.
Mm-hmm. I know, and it's so nice, and
it is nice.
It's like the little things again, and kind of like keeping that gratitude there, because
seriously,
that's also one of the things that I emphasize in keeping at the forefront, like, because as much as you might like want or need certain things, like it's really important to keep what you do have and like what you are afforded like at the forefront. And not to like negate, like those needs and desires, but just to kind of, again, be
ground you a little bit
and just like aware.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people it can get away from you, and then
if you get in that negative thought space, you kind of end up ignoring all the good around you. You can end up ignoring all the good around you.
especially when there are so many people in need. Like, that's why I'm just like, literally the fact that I can fill up my damn water bottle, like the fact that I have a roof over my head right now, like the fact that I have running water, like just the fact that I can use my hands for the things that I love, like that I can walk, like you know, just a lot of things that get taken for granted when they're kind of like so second nature. Like even whenever oh my god, very sillily enough, I cut my left hand on actually like my graduation day.
Oh man.
Let's not say how, but that shit was so deep. Like I ended up having to go to the ER. That's where I spent my graduation night, in the ER. But I had to have like stitches and everything, and so I basically like couldn't use my left hand. Like it was basically useless for the most part, and like for who knows how long.
And it made you realize,
even though I'm right-handed, so I was like, oh, it's not my dominant hand. You realize how much you use it. Like I was over here showering, like. I was over here like, can you put my socks on? Like, trying to pull my pants up with like one
arm. I know.
I was like, again, you just take things for granted.
Yeah. Seriously. Aw. Yeah. It's important to, again, just recognize the little things and constantly remind yourself that's the stuff that's important. That's the stuff that's gonna make up, you know, the big picture, like you said again.
And I mean, some people are like cut out for or like enjoy certain ways of living. But I'm very much like about that like soft and slow life. And I feel like again, it's a process and a journey because coming from a family that is very much like praises like essentially overworking and burnout and like all of that stuff, like that kind of productivity is just like
I can't,
it's a lot. And so that's why to a lot of this is just like cycle breaking and like generational healing, because that's what I consider myself, like a literal cycle breaker. And
me too.
Like literally the first person to take this route, you know what I mean, and actually like live the kind of life that like I want to live. So
hell yeah,
it's a lot, but
it can
sometimes you're just like, but why me?
I know. Why couldn't I have just gone the easy route, like the quote unquote easy route, you know? I totally, oh man, I feel that again in my bones. Yeah.
But when it's
what
like
a burden.
It's like one of those things though where like when you know something, you can't unknow it. Like you can't just be like zoop, like deleted from memory bank, Black Mirror episode.
No going back. No going back. Aw.
Gosh.
Well, what are you working on like now? I know you mentioned a website.
Yeah. A website I've been working on and off, but like I said, I'm kind of just at that point where I might just start from scratch. Sometimes that happens even when you pour so much time into things. But I'm working on that, and then my friend and I finally started working on a couple of things that we had talked about before. So first, this kind of like directory for like safe and inclusive spaces like locally. And I definitely feel like once we get it, you know, at least for like our area, I want to definitely expand it to at least like Central Florida and not just Lakeland. So like we're working on that, and then we are working on like more of like a creative zine. Because of course it's queer. And you know, we do want to like highlight people and certain efforts, and then obviously like include just creative things like art and writing, all the good stuff. And then I'm also like, I'm like, let me not say, because, like, I have so many things in motion that I'm just, like, jumping back and forth. But I've been working, like I told you, because of my website and stuff, I've been working on more to, like, actually put on there that I've been wanting to. So, like, I have, like, sun catcher stickers that I printed, and so I've been doing, like, a lot of, like, digital stuff, which I you know, didn't start because I didn't have a way to do it until
later
after. So I've been working on a lot of digital stuff and, like, a coloring book.
I saw the coloring pages. It's cute.
And I'm like, what else? God, there's... And then I actually just got on Notion. Have you heard of Notion? It's like this where you can organize
I love Notion. I will say I haven't, like, gotten to the habit, but I was introduced to it, and it, like, I feel like if you did work it into your workflow, it can be a really great tool.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like, have that be my main kind of, like, organizing base, especially because you can collaborate on there. And that's what we're using too. But
that's a good call. I should probably, like, learn about it more. Like, I feel like if I learned about it more, there's so much that you could do.
It's definitely a learning curve, because, again, I feel like when it's one of those sites where there's a lot of flexibility, like customization kind of thing, and, like, you can integrate a bunch of like platforms on it, it's like
it can be a little overwhelming.
So
I think they have a lot of YouTube videos. I will say it seems like they're really good at, like, posting how to do things on their YouTube channel, because I do follow their YouTube.
It's just actually kind of, you know, so I'm keeping it basic right now for, like, what I, you know, need it most
I'm learning Discord too right now.
I've been
all about it
on Discord for a bit, but, like, I didn't use it that much. Other than, like, you know, friendly, like, friend chats, and, you know, sometimes we would get on cam and stuff, like, whatever, or, like, the voice option, but I feel like a lot of people use Discord, you know, so. And I did make one for Passion Powerhouse, but, you know, again, everything in its own time. But, and then I've had, like, plenty of ideas and lists of activities and, like, workshops that I've wanted to do. So it's kind of just the process of trying to actually, like, organize them and see where like, I can host them. Because, again, right now I'm not at, like, the financial point to, like, be able to, like, dish out, like, I even, like, reached out to, like, this coffee shop and asked them. And they were like, oh, it's like $150 an hour, and I'm just like,
what the hell?
So it's like,
did they want you to, like, rent out the space or something?
Well, that one specifically, like, which I understand, like, some of it goes to, it's kind of, like, works as, like, a voucher that you can use whatever, like, to buy purchase things there. But again, like, it's just one of those things.
Don't do that. You can find free venues.
I'm trying to go that route, especially if, you know, certain things are
I know you said about the public library, but they do also have community rooms. I know at least Hillsborough County, like, you can rent out the rooms, or, like, request a room.
Locally right now there's just one, because the other one has been like under construction again. But
got it. Sick. Man.
And sometimes, let me not get in there, but
don't you don't have to.
But so I'm just, like, kind of seeing what my options are, and, you know, but I'm trying to not overthink it, because again, like, we can get so stuck in, like, the planning and idea phases that, like, we don't just do it, you know, and, like, you just learn along the way.
I would say reach out to more coffee shops.
So that's where I'm at.
Definitely.
Because I do want to have people come together and like get some shit done. Get them creative juices flowing, or some tears flowing even, you know?
Totally.
I'll bring some tissues.
If I didn't live so far, I would say you could use our house, but I don't know if the people of Lakeland would want to drive 45 minutes over here.
Well, I mean, I have, like, the coffee shop that I asked was in Tampa.
Okay.
So I'm not, like, opposed to, like, doing things in Tampa either, because I do actually, like, know plenty of people in Tampa. So I wouldn't be opposed to like doing it in different areas. But because like I have been kind of trying to see what's available like more locally to not have to always drive over here. You know, I'm just seeing like what my options are.
Totally.
But yeah, because
I'll keep an ear out.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to like certain events where I can appreciate, for example, like the crowd and like I guess like the purpose of the event. But what I've found is that like for what I'm going for, it's just not been like
you haven't found
fulfilling enough, because like my thing is usually when you go to events, like you end up just kind of like congregating and like talking to people that you already know, you know what I mean? Like
True.
You're not gonna go up to random people unless maybe you are the type of person, or like and the most is gonna be like, hey, like I like your outfit or something, you know, like a compliment. But I really want to create like intentional spaces where we can actually all all participate and like get to know each other and stuff, because I say that in school, for example, even though we hated it, that's how you got to know people, like getting to do those like icebreaker, you know, like scenarios, or just like being broken off into random groups, like that's how you got to know who was in your class. So like similarly, I want that kind of vibe, and I like the idea of whatever the, like, let's say if it's something creative, I like the idea of like having a collaborative piece. So like if we're working on a zine, like I want a collaborative zine that like everybody contributes to, you know, or like if we're working on a painting, you know.
Prince St. Pete might also be open. I know it's further, but Prince St. Pete might also be open to hosting an event.
Okay. I do follow them, and
Caitlin's really nice, and she's let me hosted stuff for free. She's all about that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, I mean, push comes to shove. You could always, like, do a test run there at the very least.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Juggling.
That's exciting.
Different.
Me too. I do a bunch of stuff, too. That's also why I'm like, can I please have a mental health day tomorrow? Because I like, took like a lot of time off at the beginning of this year, like doing like pretty much nothing, like just readjusting to medication, number one. Number two, getting back into therapy. And so I've just been really like, everything is kind of went on pause. Like I used to, like I would do like the different events through like Tiny Rainbows, which is now like Care Collective. And then I did this podcast for a little bit. And then I was also doing like illustrations and stuff, and then I just was like nothing. Nothing, none of it for like the last 4 or 5 months. And then I was like, okay, like I'm starting to feel like more motivation again, like I'm feeling inspired. I did like a to-do list of like, what do I want to do for Archived Conversations? What do I want to do for Care Collective? And I like just created a to-do list, and I started crossing them off and like getting it all ready. And doing all the little things I need to do to make season 2 happen, to begin creating new events with Care Collective, and how I want that to look, and like just recentering the intention of that group. But like because of that, I have gone from like 0 to 100, like real quick, and I was just like, oh shit, I totally like overbooked myself. I was not prepared like for anything. I not for anything, but like
just for all of it at once.
Just for all of it at once. And I feel like this week I've kind of just like dropped some of the balls that I was trying to juggle all at the same time. And it hasn't been like detrimental at all, but it is just like, okay, I need to like recalibrate again. And like find a happy medium, because I'm doing too much. I'm trying to do it all at once. Like I can do it all, I just can't do it all at once. Exactly. I have to pace it out better. So, I've I feel you.
I mean, that's how you'll learn though, like also what you have the capacity for at certain
Exactly.
times. But it is important to like act on those basically like energy bursts and inspiring you know like moments. Cause
that's where I was at. I was like, okay, like I want to like schedule these interviews. I want to like start setting up events, and I also want to start doing like more risograph prints like with Prince AP and stuff. It's just like, okay, you can do that, but like pace it better next time, please.
I think that's where you'll figure it out. That's where I'm at, like trying to, because like I said, I'm not gonna be pigeonholed into one thing. I do need to like ground myself and think on the more practical sense in terms of like what's doable. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is obviously not everything at once.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, where can the people find you online? Where can they? Is your website up now or no?
Technically it is, but which I mean they can, I guess, go on there for the time being until I figure that out. But I'll give you the link. It's basically like my name and then the Wix site. And, like Passion Powerhouse. And then of course like Passion Powerhouse on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Oh yeah, I'll follow you on TikTok.
Yeah, that one I'm still like kind of trying to be. I've been trying to be like more active on it, because I do like, especially like the video format better than Instagram format. But again, like I've been being more consistent on my personal one, so just
whatever.
Juggling it all.
Yeah, whatever. It's okay.
Yeah.
But regardless, I still really enjoy what you have been putting out there, and I think it's really important, and I'm really glad that I could have you on. So
I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said yes. I know you said you were a little nervous, but I think you did a great job.
Thank you. I know it's like, let us not be here for 5 hours.
I know. That's how it always is.
It's very easy to get caught up, and like I said, don't get me started because it's so easy to go off on tangents. You know what I mean?
So easy.
Or like get wrapped up in conversation, and you're just like, all right, we don't actually have all night. Like you just said, you need a mental health day tomorrow.
No, this has been good. It's been healing for sure.
Yay!
But yeah, thanks again. Thanks again for being on and talking about it all and just having a fun conversation. It was really
appreciate
great.
it.
And it's really important. I can't wait to listen back to it. Because I'm sure I'm going to like pick up on things. Like obviously I was in it the whole time, but I bet I'll like pick up little nuggets that I like maybe slightly missed before. Like something will jump out at me like more so the second time. So I just really appreciate the time.
Me too. Genuinely. I'll try not to like cringe at myself whenever I
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, you did great. You didn't even freeze. You didn't even freeze.
I didn't. I'm surprised. And I like.
You can do hard things.
Internally, I was only like super heart beating like at the beginning. So my body chilled out too.
I'm glad. I kind of noticed that it seemed like you relaxed a little bit after a couple minutes. I'm like, okay, good. I'm glad. That's what I was hoping.
The hands get clammy, the whole nine.
Yeah, it's hot in here. It's Florida.
No, it's literally just my body. But I'm like, you see, it's fine.
Well, thanks for being sweaty with me on the couch because I'm also sweaty.
Oh my god.
Thanks again.
Thank you.